The purple sky of Kepler 442 be burned with orange flames as another city fell to the Korthok bombardment. Commander Vera Lang pressed her crystalline face against the cold metal wall of the underground bunker and listened to the explosions above. Each blast made the ground shake and sent dust falling from the ceiling like deadly snow. Her people were dying. Zephyrians had never been warriors. They were builders, dreamers, scientists who had spent 1,000 years creating beautiful cities and amazing technology. But when the Korthok ships came from the darkness of space 3 months ago, all their knowledge meant nothing against the brutal alien invaders. Vera walked to the communication center where her technicians worked frantically at their glowing screens. The quantum transmitter hummed with power, ready to send one last desperate message across the galaxy. She had tried everything else. Their defense ships were destroyed in the first week. Their orbital stations were rubble floating in space. Now only scattered groups of survivors hid in bunkers and caves while the Korthok prepared for the final assault. "Commander, the transmitter is ready," said her chief technician, his voice shaking with fear and exhaustion. Vera nodded and picked up the communication device. Her hands trembled as she began to speak. She knew this message would probably be ignored like all the others. The great civilizations of the galaxy had their own problems. Nobody wanted to fight the Korthok Empire. "This is Commander Vera Lang of the Zephyrian Defense Corps on Kepler 44. To be any sentient species capable of rendering aid. Please hear our words. Our world falls within days. The Korthok Empire has destroyed our cities and killed millions of our people. We cannot fight them alone. We offer all our technological knowledge in exchange for military assistance. We have the secrets of faster-than-light travel, quantum computing, and energy manipulation. Please, someone answer. Our children are dying." She released the transmitter button and closed her eyes. The message would travel across the galaxy at incredible speed, reaching hundreds of worlds within hours. But would anyone care enough to help? On the other side of the galaxy, the signal reached the gleaming towers of the Altarian Republic first. The Altarians were tall, proud beings who considered themselves the most advanced species in known space. Their council met for exactly 10 minutes before dismissing the plea. "The Zephyrians are weak," declared their High Chancellor. "They should have built proper defenses. Their fate is not our concern." The Centauri Federation received the message next. Their governing body spent 3 days debating whether to send aid. Politicians argued about costs, risks, and the danger of provoking the Korthok Empire. In the end, they decided the risk was too great. They sent a polite message expressing their sympathy, but explaining they could not help. The Andromedans barely considered the request at all. They were locked in their own territorial disputes and had no ships to spare. The Rigel Collective was too far away. The Vega Alliance claimed they had no military capability. One by one, every major power in the galaxy either ignored the message or sent regrets. Meanwhile, on a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system, Dr. Lisa Chen was working the night shift at the Arecibo to Radio Telescope facility. She had been monitoring deep space signals for 15 years, hoping to find proof that humanity was not alone in the universe. Most nights brought only cosmic background radiation and the occasional pulsar, but tonight was different. The computer screen flashed red as an artificial signal came through the receivers. Lisa's coffee cup fell from her hand and shattered on the floor as she stared at the impossible data streaming across her monitor. The signal was clearly artificial, incredibly complex, and coming from a star system 47 light-years away. Her hand shook as she began the translation protocols. The message was in multiple languages, including mathematical concepts that any intelligent species should understand. As the computer worked to decode the alien words, Lisa realized she was looking at humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. But this was not the peaceful first contact that scientists had dreamed about. This was a cry for help. From a dying world, Lisa called her supervisor, then the director, then the head of the National Science Foundation. Within 2 hours, the message was in the hands of President Carter and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Military analysts studied every word while linguists worked to understand the alien language structure. The breakthrough came when they realized that Zephyrians had included technical specifications in their message. The faster-than-light travel technology they offered was decades ahead of anything human scientists had imagined. The quantum computing systems could revolutionize every aspect of human civilization. The energy manipulation techniques could solve Earth's power problems forever, but there was a catch. The Zephyrians needed military help, and they needed it fast. General Jake Morrison stood in the Pentagon briefing room, looking at a wall-sized screen showing the distant star system where an alien species faced extinction. Around the table sat Earth's top military commanders, scientists, and government officials. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone in the room. "Gentlemen and ladies," General Morrison said, his voice carrying the authority of a man who had commanded soldiers in 3 different wars. "We have 48 hours to make a decision that will change human history forever. An alien species is offering us technology that could advance our civilization by centuries. In return, they want our help in a war against an enemy we know nothing about." The room was silent except for the hum of electronic equipment. Was being asked. Humanity would have to send its best warriors to fight and possibly die in a conflict on the other side of the galaxy. Dr. Chen, who had been brought in as an advisor, spoke quietly. "Their message shows they have tried every major civilization. In the galaxy, nobody else will help them. If we do nothing, they will all die." General Morrison nodded grimly. "And if we help them, we announce to the entire galaxy that Earth is ready to fight. It could make us enemies we never knew existed." The debate continued through the night, but by morning, the decision was made. President Carter authorized Operation Skyfall, the most ambitious military mission in human history. General Morrison addressed a room full of Earth's finest soldiers. The next evening, Marines, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Air Force Special Operations personnel filled the secure briefing room. These were men and women who had volunteered for the most dangerous missions on Earth. Now they were being asked to volunteer for something far more dangerous. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Morrison said, looking into the eyes of warriors who had never backed down from any fight, "we just received our first invitation to the galactic community. They are asking for warriors." The alarm bells rang through the military base at 3 in the morning. Colonel Ryan Davis rolled out of bed and grabbed his uniform, knowing that this was the call he had been waiting for his entire career. 23 years of combat experience and conflicts across Earth had prepared him for many things, but nothing had prepared him for this. He arrived at the briefing room to find his hand-picked team already assembled. Major Kate Sullivan stood at attention near the tactical display, her calm eyes showing no emotion despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. She had served with Ryan in 4 different wars and had never failed a mission. If anyone could handle first contact with hostile aliens, it was Kate. Sergeant Alex Torres was checking his equipment list for the 3rd time. The demolitions expert had a reputation for being able to blow up anything, anywhere, anytime. His nervous energy filled the room as he thought about the challenges of fighting an enemy with completely unknown technology. Lieutenant Danny Kim sat quietly at his computer station, already working on communication protocols and electronic warfare systems. The young officer had a gift for understanding complex technology, and his ability to hack into enemy systems had saved countless lives in previous missions. "Corporal?" Lucy Adams cleaned her rifle with the methodical precision that had made her the deadliest sniper in the Marine Corps. She could put a bullet through a target at 2,000 meters in any weather condition. Her calm presence steadied the entire team. Staff Sergeant Ben Parker was the team's heavy weapons specialist and the strongest man Ryan had ever met. Ben could carry equipment that would break most soldiers and had never retreated from any fight. His loyalty to his team was absolute. "Listen up," Ryan said as he activated the holographic display. "Operation Skyfall is a go. We launch in 60 hours aboard 3 stealth frigates, Valkyrie, Reaper, and Ghost. Our mission is to travel 47 light-years to the Kepler-4 for to be system and provide military assistance to an alien species called the Zephyrians." The room was silent as the team absorbed this information. They had all volunteered for dangerous missions before, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. Kate raised her hand. "What do we know about the enemy? The Korthak Empire?" Ryan replied, switching the display to show grainy images captured by deep space telescopes. They use massive ships with heavy armor and overwhelming firepower. Standard tactics appear to be orbital bombardment followed by ground invasion. They have been zeking the Zephyrian world for 3 months. Danny looked up from his computer. "What about their technology level?" "Unknown, but probably more advanced than ours in some areas. However, intelligence suggests they rely on brute force rather than tactical innovation. They have never encountered human military doctrine." Ben cracked his knuckles. "How many ships are we talking about?" Ryan's expression grew grim. "Approximately 400 Korthak vessels in the target system. Will be outnumbered more than 100 to 1. The team exchanged glances, but nobody spoke. They were professional soldiers who had faced impossible odds before. The numbers did not scare them, but they understood the reality of what they were attempting. Lucy spoke for the first time. "What makes Command think we can succeed?" Ryan answered. "First, our stealth technology is based on principles that most galactic civilizations have never developed. We should be able to operate undetected. Second, human military tactics are apparently unique in the galaxy. Every other species uses direct confrontation. We use psychological warfare, asymmetric attacks, and unpredictable strategies." The next 48 hours passed in a blur of preparation. The team studied everything known about Korthak military capabilities, which unfortunately was not much. They learned basic Zephyrian language patterns and studied the geography of Kepler 44b. Most importantly, they planned dozens of different tactical scenarios for various combat situations. The 3 stealth frigates were marvels of human engineering. Each ship was only 300 meters long, but packed with the most advanced technology Earth possessed. Their hull plating could bend light and electromagnetic radiation, making them nearly invisible to most detection methods. Their engines produced minimal heat signatures, and their weapon systems were designed for precision strikes rather than massive destruction. Ryan would command the Valkyrie with Kate as his second-in-command. Danny and Lucy would serve aboard. The Reaper under Commander Sarah Mitchell, a Navy officer with extensive experience in submarine warfare. Alex and Ben would join the crew of the Ghosts, led by Captain Mark Thompson, an Air Force pilot who specialized in stealth operations. The launch took place at midnight from a secret facility in the Nevada desert. The 3 ships lifted silently into the dark sky, their stealth systems already active. Within minutes, they had cleared Earth's atmosphere and engaged their experimental. Faster than light drives, the journey to Kepler 44b would take 2 weeks at maximum velocity, faster than any human had ever traveled through space. During the flight, the team continued their preparations and tried to imagine what they would find when they arrived. Kate spent hours in the ship's medical bay, studying everything known about Zephyrian biology. If they had to work with alien allies, she needed to understand their physical capabilities and limitations. Danny worked with the ship's computers to develop communication protocols that could kit interface with Zephyrian technology. He also prepared electronic warfare packages designed to disrupt Korthak systems. Though he had no idea if they would be effective against alien technology, Lucy practiced with modified ammunition designed for use in different atmospheric conditions. The gravity and air density on Kepler 442b were different from Earth, which would affect the trajectory of her shots. Alex studied the chemical composition of the alien world and prepared explosive devices that would function in the foreign environment. He also worked on ways to sabotage alien technology using Earth-based techniques. Ben maintained and modified the team's weapons, ensuring they would function reliably in combat against unknown enemies. He also served as the team's morale officer, keeping everyone focused on the mission despite the incredible uncertainty they faced. As the ships traveled through the darkness between stars, Ryan stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie and looked out at the strange constellations visible from interstellar space. In less than 2 weeks, he and his team would engage in humanity's first interstellar war. The outcome would determine not only the fate of the Zephyrians, but also Earth's place in the galactic community. The mission was simple in concept, but terrifying in execution. Arrive at an alien world, assess the military situation, and defeat an enemy that had never been beaten. Ryan had led soldiers into impossible situations before, but this time the stakes were higher than they had ever been. As the ships continued their journey toward the unknown, Ryan made a silent promise to his team and to the alien species they were traveling to help. Earth's warriors were coming, and they would not fail. The 3 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 440b system. What they saw made even the most experienced soldiers stop and stare in shock. Hundreds of massive alien warships surrounded the blue-green planet like angry metal wasps around a hive. Each Korthok vessel was at least 3 times larger than the biggest ship humans had ever built. Colonel Ryan Davis stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie and watched the enemy fleet through the main display. Korthok ships were ugly things built for destruction rather than beauty. Their dark hulls bristled with weapon ports and armor plating. Orange flames shot from the planet's surface where cities burned under constant bombardment. "My God," whispered Kate Sullivan as she counted the enemy vessels. "There are over 400 of them." Danny Kim worked frantically at his computer station, scanning the alien communications. "They are coordinating attacks on the remaining population centers, Zephyrians. Have maybe 6 hours before the final assault begins." Lucy Adams adjusted her scope and studied the enemy formation through the ship's sensors. They are arranged in standard attack patterns. No scouts, no advanced positions. They think they are completely safe. Ryan smiled grimly. The Korthok had made their first mistake. They had never fought an enemy they could not see. "All ships maintain stealth protocols," Ryan ordered over the communication system. "We are going in." The 3 human ships moved like ghosts through the outer edge of the Korthok fleet. Their advanced stealth systems made them invisible to the alien sensors, which were designed to detect large, obvious targets rather than small, hidden ones. Alex Torres studied the enemy ships through his targeting system.
Ow!
Their hulls are thick, but the design is inefficient. All their armor is concentrated on the front and sides. The engine sections are barely protected. Ben Parker loaded special charges into the ship's deployment system. "If we can place explosives directly on their hulls, we can disable their engines without destroying the ships completely." Ryan nodded. The plan was risky, but it played to human strengths. Instead of fighting the massive alien fleet directly, they would use stealth and precision to cause maximum confusion with minimum risk. At 0300 ship time, the Ghost began the first attack. Captain Thompson brought his ship within 50 meters of a Korthok dreadnought and launched Alex Torres in a small stealth pod. Alex moved through space like a deadly shadow, attaching explosive charges to the engine sections of 12 different ships. The explosions came 30 minutes later. 12 Korthok vessels suddenly lost power and began drifting helplessly through space. Their crews sent frantic distress signals that filled the communication channels with panic and confusion, while the Korthok fleet scrambled to understand what had happened. Kate Sullivan launched her own mission from the Reaper. She led a boarding party of 6 Marines onto the Korthok's flagship using modified spacesuits that matched their stealth technology. Moving through the alien ship was like walking through a nightmare. The corridors were too tall for humans, and filled with strange smells and sounds. The Korthok themselves were terrifying creatures, standing 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin like black leather. But they had never faced human special forces. Kate's team moved through the ship like deadly spirits. They planted listening devices in the command center, stole data from the alien computers, and photographed everything they could find. Korthok crew never knew they had been boarded until the humans were already gone. Before leaving, Kate planted a small device that projected a holographic message in perfect Korthok language. The alien commander found it on his command chair. 20 minutes later, the message was simple but terrifying. "We are watching." Meanwhile, Danny Kim had been busy with his own mission. He had successfully hacked into the Korthok communication network and was feeding false information to their tactical systems. Suddenly, Half the enemy fleet thought they were under attack from the opposite direction. Lucy Adams used the confusion to begin what the team called ghost fishing. The Reaper would decloak just long enough for her to destroy an isolated patrol ship with a single, perfectly placed shot, then disappear back into stealth before the enemy could respond. Each attack was swift and precise, always leaving one damaged ship to spread word of the invisible attackers. The psychological effect on the Korthok was devastating. They had built their empire on overwhelming force and fear tactics. They had never fought an enemy they could not see or understand. Within 6 hours, reports of ghost attacks were spreading through their entire fleet. Korthak soldiers began seeing human ships everywhere, even when none were present. Their commanders issued contradictory orders as they tried to fight an enemy that struck without warning and vanished without trace. Some ships began firing randomly into empty space, hoping to hit the invisible attackers. The chaos reached its peak when the Korthok Admiral broadcast a system-wide message demanding answers. Its voice carried across all communication channels. Filled with rage and confusion, cowardly attackers, show yourselves and fight with honor. Stop hiding like insects and face the might of the Korthok Empire. Ryan Davis listened to the alien commander's words and made a decision that would echo through galactic history, activated the communication system, and sent a response to all 3 human ships. All vessels, prepare to decloak on my mark. It is time to introduce ourselves properly. The 3 human ships moved into formation directly in front of the massive Korthok fleet. Hundreds of alien warships faced 3 small vessels that should have been destroyed instantly. But something about the calm confidence of the human formation made even the Korthok hesitate, Mark Ryan said quietly. The Valkyrie, Reaper, and Ghost shimmered into visibility like materializing angels of death. Their sleek hulls gleamed in the light of the distant star, beautiful and deadly in their elegant simplicity. The contrast with the ugly, brutal Korthok ships was striking. Every sensor in the Korthok fleet focused on the 3 human vessels. Targeting systems locked on, weapons charged. The alien fleet prepared to crush these tiny attackers with overwhelming firepower. Ryan opened a communication channel that broadcast to every ship in the system. His voice was calm and steady, carrying the authority of a man who had never lost a battle. I am Colonel Ryan Davis of the Human Colonial Marines. You will cease your attack on this world and withdraw immediately. This is your only warning. The silence that followed lasted exactly 10 seconds. Then the Korthok Admiral's laughter filled the communication channel. 3 small ships challenged the entire Korthok fleet. You are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid, humans. Let me show you the price of interfering with our conquest. The alien commander gave the order that would change everything. Destroy the human vessels. Leave nothing but debris. Ryan looked at his crew and smiled. The enemy had just made their second and final mistake. He still thought this was going to be a conventional space battle. All ships, implement Protocol 7. Let us show them how humans fight. The war for Kepler-442b was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to learn why Earth had never lost a species-wide conflict. The Korthok expected a glorious battle between massive fleets. Instead, they were about to experience something completely new: human military doctrine applied to interstellar warfare. The Korthok fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of energy beams and plasma bolts filled the space where the 3 human ships had been floating. The aliens expected to see the small vessels destroyed instantly in a brilliant explosion of light and metal. Instead, they hit nothing but empty space. The human ships had vanished the moment the weapons fired, disappearing back into stealth like ghosts returning to the shadows. The Korthok weapons struck each other in a deadly crossfire that damaged dozens of their own vessels. Impossible, roared the Korthok Admiral as his crew frantically scanned for the human ships. Where did they go? His answer came 30 seconds. Later, when the Ghost materialized directly behind his flagship, Captain Thompson fired a single shot from the ship's main railgun. The tungsten projectile, traveling at 10% the speed of light, punched through the Korthok ship's rear armor like a needle through paper. The alien vessel shuddered as the projectile tore through its engine room. Power systems failed, artificial gravity flickered, and emergency alarms screamed throughout the ship. The flagship was not destroyed, but it was crippled and helpless. Before the Korthok could respond, the ghost had vanished again. Lucy Adams smiled as she watched the enemy fleet through her targeting scope aboard the Reaper. Their armor is designed for energy weapons. They have never faced kinetic projectiles at these speeds. The Reaper appeared above a group of Korthok cruisers and fired a spread of railgun rounds into their formation. Each tungsten rod hit with the force of a nuclear bomb, tearing through alien holes that had never been penetrated by conventional weapons. 3 ships lost power and began spinning helplessly through space. The Valkyrie struck next, using the planet's gravity well to achieve an impossible attack angle. Ryan brought his ship skimming along the planet's atmosphere using the dense air to mask his approach. When he emerged on the other side, he was directly in the middle of the Korthok formation. "Fire all weapons," Ryan ordered. The Valkyrie unleashed a barrage of railgun rounds and guided missiles into the packed enemy fleet. The surprise attack caught the aliens completely off guard. Ships collided with each other as they tried to avoid the human weapons, creating a chain reaction of destruction that spread through their formation. Danny Kim worked frantically at his computer station, sending false targeting data to the Korthok weapons systems. Enemy ships began firing at phantom targets, while the real human vessels attacked from completely different directions. The coordination that had made the Korthok fleet so dangerous was falling apart as confusion spread through their ranks. But the real innovation came from an unexpected source. Ben Parker, studying the battle through the tactical display, noticed something important about the enemy ship design. "Colonel, their reactors are positioned too close to their weapon systems," he reported. "If we can overload their power grid, we can cause cascading failures throughout their entire fleet." Ryan immediately understood the implications. "Can you do it?" "Give me 5 minutes and one of their ships," Ben replied grimly. The plan was insane, but it was exactly the kind of desperate gamble that human soldiers excelled at. Ben suited up in heavy combat armor and launched himself from the Valkyrie in a small assault pod. His target was a damaged Korthok cruiser that was drifting helplessly after losing its engines. Moving through the alien ship was like walking through hell. The corridors were filled with smoke and the screams of wounded Korthok soldiers. Ben fought his way through the vessel, using his superior training and human weapons to overcome aliens twice his size. He reached the reactor room. Just as Korthok security forces surrounded him, the massive aliens fired their energy weapons at the human intruder. But Ben's armor was designed to absorb and redirect energy. He used their own weapons against them, reflecting the energy beams back at his attackers. With the reactor room cleared, Ben began his real work. He planted explosive charges throughout the alien power system, but these were not ordinary bombs. They were designed to create a specific type of electromagnetic pulse that would spread through the Korthok communication network. "Charges set," Ben reported over his radio. 30 seconds to detonation. "Ben, get out of there," Kate shouted from the Reaper. "Negative," Ben replied calmly. "Someone needs to manually trigger the cascade. Tell my family I died fighting for something that mattered." The explosion that followed lit up the entire star system. The Korthok cruiser vanished in a ball of brilliant energy that expanded outward like a miniature star. But the real damage was not the destruction of one ship. The electromagnetic pulse spread through the alien fleet's communication network, overloading power systems on over 100 vessels. Ship after ship lost power as the cascade. Failure spread through the Korthok fleet. Lights went out, weapon systems failed, and life support began shutting down. The mighty alien armada that had terrorized the galaxy was being crippled by the sacrifice of one human soldier. Meanwhile, Kate Sullivan had reached the planet's surface with a team of Marines. They linked up with Zephyrian resistance fighters. Hiding in the ruins of what had once been a beautiful city, the tall, crystalline aliens were amazed by the small, fierce humans who had come to help them. "Your people fight like nothing we have ever seen," said Commander Vera Lang, as she watched Kate's team set up defensive positions. "You use tactics that seem impossible." Kate smiled as she checked her weapon. "We learned to fight on a world where everything wanted to kill us, made us very good at surviving." Working together, the humans and Zephyrians began systematically destroying Korthok ground installations. The aliens had expected easy conquest of a defenseless world. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that used every piece of terrain to their advantage and struck without warning from unexpected directions. The tide of battle was turning. But the cost was terrible. Ben Parker's sacrifice had crippled the Korthok fleet, but dozens of human marines had died in the ground fighting. The Zephyrians had lost millions of their people, and their beautiful world was scarred by war. As the remaining Korthok ships began to retreat toward the edge of the system, Ryan faced a crucial decision. The aliens were beaten, but they might return with reinforcements. Earth needed to send a message that would be remembered throughout the galaxy. "All ships, pursue the fleeing enemy," Ryan ordered. "We finish this now." The 3 human vessels, battered but unbroken, began hunting down the surviving Korthok ships. What followed was not a battle, but an execution. The aliens, demoralized and confused, were systematically destroyed by an enemy. They still did not understand. The last Korthok ship to escape carried a simple message back to their empire. Earth protects its allies. Earth remembers its enemies. The war for Kepler 440b was over, but the real consequences were just beginning. The silence that followed the destruction of the Korthok fleet was unlike anything Ryan Davis had ever experienced. For the first time in 3 months, no explosions echoed across the surface of Kepler 442b. No energy beams cut through the planet's atmosphere. The war was over. Ryan stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie and looked down at the alien world below. Smoke still rose from burning cities, but he could see lights beginning to flicker on in areas that had been dark for weeks. The Zephyrians were emerging from their hiding places, finally safe to rebuild their shattered civilization. "Colonel, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," Danny Kim reported from his station. "Commander Vera Lang requests permission to meet with you," Ryan nodded. "Tell her we will meet at the largest intact landing platform. It is time for humanity's first formal diplomatic contact." 2 hours later, Ryan and Kate walked across the landing platform in the ruins of what had once been the Zephyrian capital city. The destruction was heartbreaking. Beautiful crystalline towers lay broken and scattered like fallen stars. Streets that had once been filled with life were now empty, except for debris and the occasional patrol of human marines working. With Zephyrian survivors, Commander Vera Lang approached them with a group of her people. The Zephyrians were tall and graceful, with skin that looked like living crystal, and eyes that changed color with their emotions. Right now, those eyes showed a mixture of gratitude, wonder, and deep sadness for all they had lost. "Colonel Davis," Vera said in careful English that her people had learned during the battle, "we owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Your warriors saved our entire species from extinction." Ryan removed his helmet and looked into the alien commander's shifting eyes. "We came because it was the right thing to do. No species should face extinction alone." Vera's eyes changed to a warm golden color that Ryan somehow knew meant deep respect. The Korthok had terrorized this region of space for over 200 years. Dozens of worlds have fallen to their fleets. You are the first species to not only defeat them, but to do it so completely. Kate stepped forward. "What happens now? Will other Korthok fleets come looking for revenge?" "Perhaps," Vera replied. "But word of your victory is already spreading through our communication networks. Every species in this sector knows that humans fought a fleet of 400 ships with only 3 vessels and 1. The Korthak Empire will think very carefully before challenging Earth again." Over the following days, the Zephyrians kept their promise. They shared their faster-than-light technology freely, along with advances in quantum computing, energy manipulation, and medical science that would transform human civilization. But more importantly, they became Earth's first alien allies. Speaking of human courage and military skill to other species across the galaxy, the funeral for Staff Sergeant Ben Parker took place in the ruins of a Zephyrian temple that had survived the bombardment. Both human and alien soldiers stood at attention as Ryan spoke about the man who had given his life to save a world he had never seen before. "Ben Parker died so that an entire species could live," Ryan said to the gathered crowd. "He showed the galaxy what human warriors are willing to sacrifice for others. His name will be remembered on both Earth and Kepler 4, for as long as either world exists. The Zephyrians had a tradition of creating crystal monuments to honor fallen heroes. They carved Ben's name and deeds into a pillar of pure crystal that would stand in their rebuilt capital forever. Inscription read simply, "Ben Parker, human warrior, saved our world." 3 weeks after the battle, Ryan received new orders from Earth. The victory at Kepler 4.4 to be had changed everything. President Carter had authorized the construction of a permanent human fleet to patrol this region of space. Earth was no longer hiding on the edge of the galaxy. Humanity had announced itself as a power that would defend the innocent and fight against oppression. But the real proof of Earth's new status came 6 months later. Dr. Lisa Chen was working her usual night shift at Arecibo 2 when another alien signal arrived. This time, however, the message was very different from the desperate plea that had started everything. "Greetings to the warriors of Earth," the transmission began. "This is the Altarian Republic. We have heard of your victory over the Korthak Empire and your defense of the Zephyrian people. We find ourselves facing a small military matter and would be honored to request your assistance." Lisa smiled as she read the formal diplomatic language. The same Altarians who had dismissed the Zephyrian plea for help were now asking Earth for military aid. Word of human fighting ability had spread throughout the galaxy faster than their ships could travel. More messages followed. The Centauri Federation wanted to establish trade relations. The Andromedans requested a mutual defense treaty. Even species that humans had never heard of were sending diplomatic offers and requests for military cooperation. Earth's response was swift and clear. President Carter established the Terran Defense Corps, a joint military organization that would protect human allies and deter potential enemies. Colonel Ryan Davis was promoted to general and given command of the new fleet. Standing in his new office overlooking the expanded military facilities on Earth, Ryan looked up at the stars and thought about how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone in the universe, unaware that alien civilizations even existed. Now Earth was a recognized galactic power with allies, responsibilities, and the respect that came from proven military capability. Kate Sullivan entered his office carrying a stack of reports from various alien worlds. "General, we have 17 new requests for military assistance and 43 diplomatic messages from species wanting to establish relations with Earth." Ryan took the reports and shook his head in amazement. Who would have thought that our first contact with alien life would come through warfare rather than peaceful exploration? "Maybe it was better this way," Kate replied thoughtfully. "We proved ourselves as protectors rather than conquerors. The galaxy knows that Earth fights for others, not just for ourselves." A new alarm sounded, indicating another incoming transmission from deep space. Ryan activated the communication system and heard a familiar voice speaking in accented English. "This is Commander Vera Lang of the Zephyrian Defense Corps. General Davis. We have detected Korthok scout ships approaching the Rigel system. The inhabitants have requested assistance, but their defenses are minimal. Can Earth's warriors answer another call for help?" Ryan looked at Kate and smiled. They both knew what his answer would be. "Tell them we are on our way, Commander. Earth remembers its promises." As human ships prepared to launch toward another distant world, Ryan thought about the message they were sending to the galaxy. Earth would not stand by while innocent species suffered. Humanity had found its place among the stars as protectors of those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy had learned to fear human warriors, but more importantly, it had learned to trust them. And that trust would be the foundation of Earth's future among the stars.